standing, displaying what's written in the Bible? Or did they see a hypocritical behavior that had no rhyme or reason, and now they don't believe in God? Now, the great thing is, God can fix this. Okay, fix me, man. When I found Christ, I sobered up instantaneously. No more drugs, no more alcohol, no more women. Done. Done that day. Boom, just like Paul. Hey, welcome to a new episode of What's Your Problem? Today is a little heavy probably for most, but it's a topic that I cover weekly with clients or with the public. So it's my kid's a drug addict. Right? Yeah, I told you it's gonna be a little heavy today. But you want a solution, right? You want to know what you can do. Mom and dad will call me a lot, right? I'm a pastor and a coach. And they'll say, my kid's a drug addict. How did it happen? What do I do now? What's the treatment process? You can imagine what else comes with it. So I'm going to only cover 4 things today, but I want to make sure that I give you some basis. So if you're struggling with a child that's been doing drugs, etc., hopefully this will help. All right, so number 1, you can come back and take notes, you can listen, you can pass this around, whatever you want to do with it. Number 1 is love. I tell my kids, and you may tell your kids the same thing, my love for you is not based on your behavior. My love's based on my love. That's there. Okay, so if I love you, whether you're my child or a friend, I love you. A lot of times we will put, as parents, not all, but some, a condition on the love. If you perform correctly, I'll love you. If you don't perform correctly, I won't love you. That's not how this works, excuse me. That's not how this works. So let them know you love them. Now, let me back up and ask you a question. Are you the reason they're a drug addict? Got to ask this question. I have to ask everybody as a pastor and a coach, so I don't have any choice. I am asking this question from the position of where I was as a drug addict. Yes, I started doing drugs 15, 16 years old, continued those to the age of 21, developed quite the problem. Where did I get the inspiration to do drugs? Well, my mom and dad were both alcoholics. My mom and dad split up. I'm on my own with my mom. My mom's a pretty severe alcoholic, so you can imagine, you've heard the stories. Mine are pretty similar to everybody else's. To cope, I started doing heavy amounts of drugs and then drinking on top of it and anything I could get my hands on. So you could say that due to a situation, an external situation, I became a drug addict. Now, I'm looking at you and going, did you have any part of this? You got to ask these questions, got to come up with every solution you can. All right, so that's part of the love thing. All right, number 2, God. All right, so I ask people again, I'm a pastor, man, so of course I'm going to work God into this. You look at someone who's on drugs and you have to ask a question like I do all the time. Is there a God or is there no God? It's yes or no. Either you believe in God or you don't. Is there a Jesus or no Jesus? Either you believe or you don't. That's how you operate from this thing. So remember something. If there's no God and we're trying to go through rehab and we're trying to find a solution and we're trying to get someone sober, then we have to look at the equation of time plus space plus chance, which means we're here by chance. Darwin's right. There's no rhyme or reason why we're here. And we have to get what we can get when we can get it while we can get it. All right, so if you ever saw the movie Scarface, I use this as an example. Tony Montana tried to get what he could get while he could get it because the world's not enough. So if that's the case, why are we doing drugs? Because there's no rhyme, no reason to life. Everything just happens. Everything's chance. I got to go get what I can get. I got to have fun while I can. You're trying to cramp my style. Drugs enhance my personality. They enhance, let's look at the experiments in the 60s of LSD. And a lot of universities were giving kids drugs to see if it helped enhance their artistic ability. Some people did it to see if they could talk to God. A lot of times they did see things. I know I've done hallucinogens in the past. I'm not talking about me now. I'm talking about the drug addict me. So if that's the case, you're going to do whatever it takes to get through this life. And you're going to sample things, you're going to do things to try to get pleasure. If I'm not getting pleasure out of this, maybe I can get this, maybe I can work on that. And you're going to go from that perspective. Now, let's switch this. Let's say that God's real, Jesus is real. So now we have time plus space plus a reason. Okay, now drugs don't make so much of a sense, do they? Because now, why am I doing drugs if I was put here for a reason? If God's real, if I have a reason to be here, if He's got a purpose, plan, direction for me, if He's going to give me an assignment, okay, then it doesn't make sense to impair myself doing a substance that slows me down, slows down my thinking, causes me to hallucinate, causes me to not care anymore, to be late, to be sloppy, to be dirty, to not bathe. Then now we've got a problem. See, so now if God's real, now I have a reason to sober up. I have a way to sober up. Remember this. When Jesus went to the cross, he went to the cross to solve all issues that we as people would ever face. I think drugs were on there, right? He didn't come out and go, okay, your kid's a drug addict, I'm going to fix this for you. That's not what he did there. But he said, everything's handled at the cross. All right, so now you have a reason to solve this. Now, you're the parent, so I don't know what you taught them in the home about Christianity. I don't know if you were the example or the role model. A lot of times people tell me, because I'm coming back to God, the worst thing that ever happened to the church were Christians, right? We hear that because it's personal behavior that's not based on Jesus, but based on us. And sometimes we don't change our personal behavior based on what we say believe. So did your kids see you honoring God, reading your Bible, praying, understanding, displaying what's written in the Bible? Or did they see a hypocritical behavior that had no rhyme or reason, and now they don't believe in God? Now, the great thing is, God can fix this. Okay, fix me, man. When I found Christ, I sobered up instantaneously. No more drugs, no more alcohol, no more women. Done. Done that day. Boom, just like Paul. So now you have to tackle this from, okay, rhyme, reason, got a purpose, got a plan. Do they know that? Does your child realize that they have a valued member of society? There is a reason why they're here. They have a skill set that they need to share with the world. They've got something wonderful to give the world. And has anybody sat down with them and explained that to them? Now, sometimes you, the parent, are not the person to handle this. A lot of times you call somebody like me. Pastors handle this, coaches handle this, therapists handle this, drug counselors handle this. Someone who's been down this road, I know in Hollywood, especially with rock bands, I'm not going to use his name, but there's one guy in particular that everybody calls when they're ready to get sober, okay? And he'll sit down with them, assess the situation, go through it with them and go, here's why you're here, here's how you got here, here's how you stay sober. Depends on the avenue, you know, it still comes back to, is God real, is he not real, what are we going with, what are we going to do about this? So you have to tackle that. Now let me get back to something. You, now you's different, the you I'm talking about you this time is different. A lot of times people will just beat themselves up. Okay, my kid's this because of this. I'm just going to destroy myself. I'm just going to lay all the blame at my feet. I'm going to be a martyr. I'm just going to punish. And I'm just not going to let myself have a day off. Okay, stop. That's not helping anyone. I sit sometimes and hold the hands of moms and dads while they cry, and they go through the I wish list. Okay, I wish this hadn't happened. I wish this hadn't happened. I wish I'd done this. I wouldn't have done that. Okay, stop. Let's take this at face value. Let's go back and let's look at you. Okay, maybe you didn't do everything right. Join the club. Nobody has. It's what are you going to do forward? So, you know, okay, stop beating yourself up. There's a reason why your leg points forward, not backward. God didn't want you to sit and kick yourself endlessly for something you did, because there's nothing. Let me ask you this. Can you get in a time machine right now? Okay, I don't know. Maybe your neighbor has one, but I don't know. I've seen movies with one. But since it has not been invented, let's not try to change what happened. Let's not go with ideal situations. So people like to look at the past. If only, if this had happened, that had happened, this had changed. Why is that dumb to do? Because you can't change the past, you can't change previous behavior, but you can change everything going forward. So let's look at you now. For one, you got to take care of you. All right, yes, your child's a drug addict. Got it. What are you doing to take care of you? Worrying 24/7, being stressed out about it, putting your house up for mortgage, all these things, that ain't taking care of you. It's just like when we talk to anyone that's a caregiver with someone with Alzheimer's or MS or whatever it is. What are you doing to handle you? Because what will happen is we'll watch these people, they're frazzled. They don't eat, they don't sleep, all they do is stress out and worry. And then when they go to bed at night and the other person's in another room, they always listen, you know, they're like, can I hear anything? Can I hear anything? And they're stressed out and they never go to sleep. Is that going to help you? Well, no, you got to have self-care before you can help them. All right, so you have to go back and answer the questions that I just asked you about the scenarios. Okay, so with you, let's go over love. Do you love yourself? Did the kid learn the self-loathing from you? Do you know who you are? Do you know your purpose, plan, direction? Do you know why God put you here? Do you understand your skill set? Do you understand what you have to offer to the world? Is your self-esteem low or high? How do you identify? Is it through Christ or is it through Lucifer? How do you get whatever your juice and what you need? See, if you don't take care of you first, you're not much good to anybody else. So everything that I've just gone over about your child, go over with yourself. I see people all the time, and I'll go, before we get over, people come to me for discipline. All right, I'm a pastor. What's the Bible say? I'm a behavior person. What's the behavioral process for parenting or discipline? And I'll just go, okay, before we get to the kids, I wrote a whole thing on discipline one time and parenting. Out of the 18 videos I did, one video handled kids. You're like, dude, that's parenting now. What do you mean by that? Well, it's very simple. Most of parenting's got to do with you, not the kids. I mean, come on, man. Look back at your own parenting. You know that with your own parents. So let's look at you. We've got to break ourselves down before we go help someone else. So really sit down with you and say, all right, if I don't know my purpose, plan, direction, what is it? If I get mine, they'll get theirs. They'll understand, because remember, how do we learn as humans? We learn through visualization. We learn watching people. We learn through example. That's why we tell people, get a mentor. All right, you get a mentor so you can learn a particular skill, an outcome, learn how to do something. How did your kids learn how to do everything from 0 to 7? They either watched you, your mom and dad, his mom and dad. Someone was with them at all times to teach them things. Same thing here. If they see you improve, and it's notable, and they can definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, go, mom or dad has improved, and this is how, and it's all visual, and I could take data on it, then you think they're going to see an example there, right? I tell parents all the time, if you want your kids to change, you go first. If you want your kids to be successful, you go first. Now, I've seen parents and kids go through rehab together. I've also seen some kids, their mom or dad is their drug dealer. I've seen mom and dad, to buy drugs, pimp their kids out. You name it, I've seen it. Now, right now, we're handling best case scenario, right? You just got a kid that's a drug addict. But it's always good to go back and do some research on you. Handle your programming first. Handle you first, do your self-care first, make sure you're getting exercise, make sure you're sleeping, make sure you're eating right, because then we can get to the last thing I'm gonna cover, future. They wanna know your future and their future. They wanna know how we're gonna go forward. How am I gonna go forward? I mean, that frightened me as a drug addict. I'm sitting there thinking, man, I'm strung out and I don't know how to beat it. And I think I kind of like it and kind of don't. Sometimes I hate myself, sometimes I don't. And then we would say, it's the 80s. That's when I was doing all this, in the 80s. And most people I knew were strung out too, or drinking, or the party never ended. Poison's got a song about it, nothing but a good time. We had a lot of good times between, 78 and 86 for me. So you have to think, future holds X. Well, when I say the future, sometimes it frightens people because they really can't think that far in advance, or they've never been able to map out what the future holds and they don't really understand what they should think, or they've never really met anybody that was successful, so to speak, or they don't have any goals or drive or ambition, or they don't know what they want, or I mean, you've seen the TV shows. Before we did this episode, I was flipping through the TV and I saw Jerry Springer. I really thought the show was off the air. I really did. And this was, let me get this straight. The daughter had a mother. Okay, the daughter was like early 20s. Mom's in her early 40s. And the mom was having a baby with the daughter's boyfriend while they were broke up for a week, if I remember that correctly. Oh boy, you can see what's wrong with this episode right out of the gate, right? I mean, daughters replicating mom's behaviors, right? So I don't remember what happened. I think there was a fist fight, like on Jerry Springer. There's always a fist fight with somebody. Do you really want that to be your future? I mean, they couldn't tell you what the future was. So the kid's going to ask you, Mom, what do you see? Dad, what do you see for the future? And they're going to say, what do you see for your future? All right, before we even get to me, the drug addict, Mom, Dad, what do you see for your future? What are you going to tell them? Are you going to tell them a definite, projected idea of what you see your future to be? Yes, I see this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to do it, this is my purpose in life, this is how I'm maximizing my skill sets, which are, this is what I see, at 50, 60, 70, 80. I've got this planned out. Now, does everything go exactly to plan? Well, no, but we got this drawn out pretty well, right? It's like when we were in high school, they would want us to say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Where are you going to go to college? What's your expectation? What are you going to do after college? Okay, same thing here. But this time, maybe you're 40, your kid is 15, they're strung out on coke or heroin, and now we're all, as a family, having to analyze where we are. What's the future look like? All right, so a lot of things go to your head, like what happens if they die of a drug overdose? They've already had two. What happens if we lose them? What are we going to do? You have all these scenarios playing out in your head. Well, if you handle this appropriately, chances are you don't get that third OD. I think the maximum I've seen is 7. I've seen 7 overdoses and the person finally beat it. Now, I've also seen 1 and they died. I mean, it runs the gamut. I never OD'd. I have had alcohol poisoning more than I would ever care to remember. Amazed that I woke up some days. I've had friends die and Jesus bring them back and resurrect them. You name it, I've seen the gamut of this. So for the future, you get your future good. And now let's talk about the child. Well, got to get them to treatment. Now, it runs the gamut on treatment. Okay, you always have to have an MD beside this. It's a biochemical issue now because you've introduced something into the biochemical makeup of your body. You're not going to beat it without a biochemical intervention. Okay, now we've got to sit down and talk to this person once we get them clean. Who are you? Why did God put you here? See where we're going with this. Same thing I did with you. We have to determine, do they know why they're special? Do they know what their skill set is? Do they know what they contribute to the world? Because every person does. Do they know what's going in the future? Do they need education? Do they need a mentorship? Do they just need a job? Do they just need to get back into life? Do they need to learn how to bathe and shave again? Do they need just how to get their hair cut? Do they need? It's all over the map. You have to determine that with your child. Now, this best case scenario, because sometimes you don't even get that. Sometimes there's prison involved. Sometimes it ranges. I'm talking about best case scenario. So now that the two of you can sit down and say, okay, let's get a do-over. You get a do-over, it's a mulligan, just like in golf. All right, didn't do it right. Decided to get on the drugs and alcohol. I'm gonna redo this and I'm gonna make it right this time, like I did. I got to restart my life at 21, even though, man, I had messed it up between 15 and 21. I did a lot of bad things in that 6-year span, but I got another chance. Okay, so now they get another chance. The great thing is when you get a rewrite, you get to rewrite the whole script. What do I want are the hardest words in the English language to answer. Why do I know that? People get mad at me and start yelling profanity at me every time I ask that question. My own wife tried to decapitate me with a dry erase marker when I asked her that question. How dare you ask me what I want? I've never had what I wanted. How dare you ask me that? No, I'm for real here, man, because I can have anything I want in this world if I will put it down on paper and have the desire to do it. Okay, I want to be sober. That's one. Got that check. All right, once I get sober, what am I going to do once I'm sober? I can't go back because that person's gone. So now what I'm going to do going forward? What is my next step? Everybody always has to have steps. What is it? You have to determine that. It's all based on the final outcome that you desire. What do I want? You can only answer that with them. You can't answer it for them. You answer it for you first, they'll answer it for them, then you commingle these things together. And the great thing is when parents do it with the kid. It's always great to be honest with your kid. Like if you're a parent, you say, I didn't do it right. All right, that's cool. Forgive me. Let's move on. Let's plan this together. Let's do this together. Let's go into the future together. It's always great to do this together. Addicts aren't going to beat this without a support team. Just not going to happen. Been there, done that. I had a phenomenal support team. Some of them are still with me to this day, almost 40 years later. That's so important. So I gave you 4 things. Take it for what it is. Again, this is a 8-hour seminar on my kid's a drug addict. I tried to give you a few minutes of my time to help you because since this is something that I have to answer all the time, I mean, this is a heavy topic. I know it. I have to answer this. So again, the whole idea of this whole episode is what's your problem? And your problem's the kid with a drug addict. So my kid's a drug addict, help me. Hopefully some of this has helped. You can always go to my website, scotfarrell.com, if you have any questions about who I am, what I do, and and any of my services, but this is done purely to help you find some answers to your issues. All right, I'm Scott Farrell. Thank you so much for being part of this, and my wish for you is that you go forward and today gets better, especially with this scenario. Take care.